If you live abroad long enough, you start to realize that you start to change. As the time goes on, your way of thinking, maybe in the past when you were in your home country, is no longer the same way that you think now. If this is the case, you may fall into the category of third culture, or what I call living between places. And as I reflect on this, I think about like what that means for me. And I think it's really important to talk about, because this is like a category of people that it doesn't get talked about enough. I remember early on, I kind of thought that there was something wrong with me, the way that I thought and some of the things that I felt. So I'm just going to highlight some of the things that I internally recognize in myself as being third culture, and maybe that applies to you. Number one is that I find that being third culture, I'm quite adaptable. And what I mean by that is, before I moved abroad, the thought of living abroad scared me to death. I couldn't imagine it. And finally, the circumstances presented itself to push me abroad. And now, after 15 years, the thought of moving to another country doesn't scare me whatsoever. In fact, we're moving to China in 5.5 months, and that doesn't worry me. I hear a lot of people say, well, aren't you nervous? Aren't you afraid? Not a chance. And I say that because I live here in the US. I feel like this is far more dangerous than any place that I've lived before, just due to some of the crime that I find here in the city. So yeah, there's this sense of adaptability, and I'm not really worried about moving to a new country and being in a new place and being exposed to a different culture and language and so on. And that kind of goes in with another thing that I've internalized of how I feel, is about just kind of comfort and uncertainty. A lot of times people ask me, like, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in the future? And the answer to that is, I have no idea. I have no clue. And for some people, that freaks them out. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Where do you see yourself, what do you see yourself doing? I have no clue. And I think that's just another testament of what it means to be third culture, is in a way we find comfort in uncertainty. And I guess the biggest thing that concerns me now is not necessarily myself, but more about my daughter and making sure that she's okay. That's the only really concern that I have when it comes to that level of uncertainty. And then I think finally, more of the positive side of feeling third culture is that sense of cultural empathy. And I really notice that just of how my views of different people groups and of different cultures has changed through the exposure. I mean, we've gone to, being in a host country, we've gone to people's houses, and we've learned languages and have really just broadened our mind. And there's a lot of comfort in that. And there's a lot of beauty in that, in getting to know different people groups and different cultures. And that's a blessing for me, and something that I cherish is just my exposure to different people. Okay, I've highlighted some of the positives, and now I want to kind of go into some of the things that could be perceived as negative of being third culture. And the first thing that I see that I struggle with is restlessness. And it really presents itself at night. Like, during the day, I'm distracted by the activities of the day, but when I'm at home at night and left to my own thoughts, this restlessness can creep in if I let it. And I'll give you an example. Is when I was abroad, I always had this like nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like I should be home. I'm an American, I should be back in my home country. And now that I'm back in the US for the past 18 months, I had this nagging thought in the back of my head as I should go abroad. And that's that example of just this restlessness that I do have. Even when I was the happiest I've ever been in terms of a country I've lived in was in Japan. I loved it there and I loved my job, but even then I'd find myself scrolling at like, ooh, I could live here, I could work there, and looking at jobs online, and I was happy. So there is this sense of restlessness. I think the brain has been wired that way, and that can be considered, I think, negative in a way, but at the same time, it also allows you to take chances, which is what made us third culture in the first place, because we left our home countries. I think another aspect of maybe a negative of being third culture is sometimes stability feels uncomfortable. And that kind of goes with that restlessness, is we've kind of trained our brain to really expect kind of a lot of change, and especially if you moved around a lot, which I have, when things become too normal and too stable, that can feel somewhat uncomfortable, and that can be problematic. And I think that really drives my first point of this sense of restlessness. And I think finally, the thing that I maybe struggle with the most as being third culture is there's a lot of goodbyes. You left your home country, you left friends and family, and if you've been like me, where you've gone to countries beyond that original departure, you've had to say goodbyes. I mean, I've made some amazing friends around the world in the different places that I've lived, and they've all resulted with the same result, and that was a goodbye. And over time, at the beginning, you start off, you send texts, you send emails, but as the time goes on, you kind of lose touch with a lot of those people. So there's a sense of grief that I think a lot of third culture people have. There's like these parallel lives that you've made these friendships, and as you say goodbye, they kind of go off in different directions. So I think that is something that I do struggle with as being third culture. And while there's been so many fantastic opportunities, I've seen the world and have, again, developed a strong sense of cultural empathy and resiliency and comfort in uncertainty. Those goodbyes are hard. And that's something that I worry about my daughter as she starts, developing stronger relationships with friends and having to say goodbye. And I know that she'll be okay, but this is a characteristic that I think a lot of us who fall into this category of third culture share. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Do you fall into this category? Do you identify as third culture? Can you share your experiences? Share what you've experienced. Do you relate to any of these comments, any of these insights that what third culture means to me? And please like and subscribe if you like this content. And again, as we get ready to move to China, we'll start posting a lot more about the process. It's a little bit of a slow process now. It's a little bit of a waiting game, and that's where we find ourselves. But hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And it's February here in California, and I'm walking around in shorts, so life is pretty good.